lovely people, my name is Nicole and today I am talking about the MCU, specifically Phase 3, and what books you should read based on your favorite Marvel movies. I already made videos on Phases 1 and 2, so I will link those in the doobly-doo, go check them out. But let's just jump right in with the first movie of Phase 3, which is Captain America Civil War. If Civil War is your favorite Marvel movie, then you should read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Vicious is a story of two collegiate best friends who learn that they can give themselves superpowers with a near-death experience. Then several years later, they are arch enemies. So it explores the themes from Civil War of what happens when you and your closest friends have a moral falling out, and it also attempts to address the question of what's the morality behind a superhero, who deserves to have superpowers, and what's the responsibility that comes with those powers. The next movie is Doctor Strange, and for that I have actually another V.E. Schwab book, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic. This book is about a man who has the power to travel between alternate Londons with varying degrees of magic. I think this book handles magic in a really interesting way that fans of Doctor Strange would love, and both stories do similar work at finding the often overlooked magic within our own world. The next movie is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and as I'm sure will be no surprise to anyone who knows me that I managed to fit it in this video, Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue is the book I'm recommending for this. This is by Mackenzie Lee. I think this works well for fans of Guardians Volume 2. I think to a certain extent the main characters have a similar really fun, cocky personality. They both have a great sense of humor, and just like Guardians Volume 2, in Gentleman's Guide the main character finds a group of friends to go on an adventure with, this time across Europe instead of across the galaxy. But both main characters struggle with their parents and trying to find the balance between wanting to live up to their parents' expectations versus following your own moral compass and doing what you want. The next movie Marvel released was Spider-Man Homecoming, and for that I would recommend Moxie by Jennifer Mathieu. This is a book about a teenage girl who finds her mom's old Riot Girl memorabilia when she's facing some injustice at her school and decides to use the spirit of that movement to fight back. I think this is a great fit for fans of Homecoming, not only because it has a similar fun, vibrant atmosphere, but both stories are about teenagers who are finding ways to fight for justice and do what's right, even if they feel like they're limited in their abilities or what the adults around them think they can do because of their age. The next movie is Thor Ragnarok, aka probably the funniest movie in the MCU, and so for that I would recommend Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. This book is hilarious. It's about a plane full of girls on their way to a beauty pageant that crashes on an abandoned island. It's kind of a Lord of the Flies parody. Both Beauty Queens and Thor Ragnarok take people who you think you know, whether that's the dignified Norse god that we saw in previous Thor movies or the kind of beauty queen stereotype, and completely turns it on its head, humanizes them, gives them some humor. Both stories also have a lot of fun with delighting in the absurd and celebrating all the differences of their characters. The next movie is Black Panther, and for this one, first of all, I'd just like to say this is probably the biggest one that I'm like, if you have suggestions, please leave them in the comments. One of the great things about Black Panther is that it is such great Black representation, and I am nowhere even near an expert in books celebrating that aspect of identity. So please, if you are someone who's more familiar with the wide berth of literature celebrating Black culture and identity, please leave suggestions in the comments, but I would like to recommend Ghost Boys by Jewel Parker Rhodes. This book is about a 12-year-old black boy who's shot by a police officer, and after he dies, he meets the ghost of Emmett Till. I think like Black Panther, it does a really good job of discussing the history of racial oppression, how that impacts and influences people today. All right, we are almost done. Next up is Avengers Infinity War, and this may have been the hardest one for me to choose a book for, but I finally settled on Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Asterisk for an alternative version of the story, and to get a little bit more of the multi-perspective feel that Infinity War has, you could also just read the Iliad, but in my opinion, Song of Achilles is a lot more fun. Song of Achilles is the story of Achilles from his childhood all the way through fighting in the Trojan War, as told through the eyes of Patroclus, who is his best friend, and maybe more. That question is hotly debated by scholars. I will say that this story explores the idea of them being more than friends, so if you are looking for some queer rep, this would be a good place. But just as Infinity War is the most epic battle the MCU has seen as of yet, the Iliad is pretty much literally the original epic. I think this is a great take on the story, and it definitely has some of that emotional gut punch if, you know, that's a part of Infinity War that you enjoyed. And the final movie in the MCU so far is Ant-Man and the Wasp, and for that I would recommend Not Your Sidekick by C.B. Lee. This book has a really fun duo at the center of it, just like in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I think it does a really good job of exploring a similar question as to what Ant-Man and the Wasp explored with the plotline of Ghost, in asking what makes someone a villain as opposed to someone who's doing immoral things for the right reason. Not Your Sidekick does a great job of exploring the gray area between heroes and villains. It also has a great queer romance if that's something something you're looking for. So there you go, there's a book recommendation for every single movie in the MCU as of September 2018. Maybe I'll make an update on this in a few years, we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please, if you have any other ideas that fit in with these movies, recommend them in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. But I love you guys, and I will see you later. Bye!